So I didn't know how to swim, so I went to the swimming pool. 2 months I was playing around the swimming pool than inside the pool.
Okay.
Then I realized that I'm not going to learn swimming by doing this. So in order to really do something which we think is hard, probably you need to take up a challenge which is much more harder. So I went and registered for the full Ironman.
Okay. Without knowing
How to swim. The next day when we got there, we realized that the distance till which we had swam, that is the starting point.
Is it okay to say that everyone has to evolve over a period of time, or is there a certain curriculum?
What I've done is I do this for probably 6 to 8 months a year.
Okay.
The remaining time I completely socialize. So the training gives me a lot more satisfaction than the day of the event. So I had a bunch of people to train for swimming, with different set of people to train for cycling, and a complete different set of people for running and stuff like that, right?
Hi, welcome to The Other Side. I'm your host, Dilip, an entrepreneur and an endurance athlete. In this podcast, we will explore the experiences of high-performing individuals while unpacking their mental and physical fitness routines that took them to where they are.
Welcome to another new episode of The Other Side. Today we're going to talk to Raghunandan, also known as Raghu. Raghu is a serial entrepreneur, a prolific angel investor, and a mentor to many startup founders in India. But today, we don't talk about entrepreneurship, startups, or raising venture capital. We talk how, as an endurance sports enthusiast, as a triathlete, he has trained and competed in many years, and how that has helped him steer and anchor his personal and professional life. This episode is supported by Rainmatter Health. It's an initiative by Team Zerodha. Rainmatter Health is a venture fund which invests and supports entrepreneurs and startups building solutions to help Indians stay healthy, eat right, and sleep well. If you are seeking help in building these great solutions, reach out to Rainmatter Health and we'll be glad to help you. Before we get into this podcast, I have one request. It would mean a lot to me if you can subscribe to this podcast in any of the platforms you listen or watch, be that YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Please share this to your friends and colleagues and also send me a feedback that will help me get better. Let's get into the podcast. We finally meet Raghu. Thank you for taking time out. The idea is to kind of talk to you, unpack your other side. I've known you for long, personally and professionally. Always found you very unique in terms of identity. I've tried to unpack a lot, but you never let me unpack a lot about you. So I thought I'll put you on a spot, put few cameras out there and make you talk. Thank you for taking time to talk to me
Thanks
today.
a lot, Dilip. One thing that I do is I keep myself surrounded by kind and simple people.
Yeah.
So that something of that keeps rubbing off on me.
Yeah.
That's one. Secondly, my wife also keeps trying to unpack me. She's at it for several years, but I don't know how successfully she is. But I'll probably give you a shot.
Yeah, I should trade notes with her later on. But I thought a good way to start would be last year, October, you were training for Ironman Goa. And you were all set. We were exchanging notes. And a week out, I think you went, you fall ill. You couldn't make it. So I want you to kind of elaborate and double click on what that experience was that for you, because you've been training physically so hard. You've been growing a super growth stage early company. And a few days out, this happens and you don't make out. What was that process like for you, and how did you come back and recoup from there?
Oh, so it's actually not really such a big thing. Over a period of time, what I've realized is the training leading to the event is a lot more satisfying than the event itself, right? And because of which, because you get to know a lot about yourself while you are training, right? The event, it just happens primarily because of the crowd, maybe because of the other people who are doing it and along with you and things like that, right? The harder part is the training, because most of the time you're alone. Right? And you got to push yourself physically and mentally. The event really happens. So for me, the event is of not much significance that way. Obviously, you probably get a medal, you get a certificate, and probably you get that boasting rights also, right? Whenever you complete the event. But that's not something that for which I do it, right? I register for certain events because there is a goal. right? So that I wake up every day in the morning, so that I work towards meeting that goal. I've had terrible experiences in the past during events wherein I haven't trained myself, but on the day of the event, I go through so much of pain, right? One is the physical pain, another is the mental stress. Sometimes I don't even understand why am I doing whatever I'm doing, also, right? So whenever I want to press on the snooze button and sleep off, I remember those days. Right, that was hard.
Yeah.
Right, if I don't want to find myself in those places, better get up now.
Yeah.
Right, so the training gives me a lot more satisfaction than the day of the event. So it wasn't really a big deal because thankfully it happened at the very end, a week before the event, when I got a flu and I was kind of bedridden. So then didn't make any sense to go there and do it. If it had happened probably a month before, so my training would have got compromised.
Sure, yeah.
But I would be fit to do the event. Then I would have probably struggled in the event.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it really happened, and there are quite a lot of events.
Right.
Over a period of time, and you just go ahead and do more of
So
this.
I want to extend on this, but before that, I want to ask you a very hard question. What was your workout of today in the morning?
Oh, today, I did core in the morning for 20 minutes. Then I ran.
Okay.
After that, I did strength training.
Okay. And what was the breakfast on your plate?
I take protein shake in the mornings.
Post immediately after your workout.
Yes.
All right. So I want to kind of double click on where we left. So this process, what you just said, that is, you are there to enjoy the process and not the ultimate goal, though. So there's a very good parallel between an entrepreneur experience and the endurance athlete experience, right? So which identity do you think has kind of anchored you? Is it being an entrepreneur first anchored you to be an athlete, or being an athlete first anchored you to be an entrepreneur?
Oh, very interesting question. Never thought about it that way at all. I think I started running. Right, that was way back in 2007. So I not even thought of becoming an entrepreneur then. Right, we started Taxiforsure in 2010, end of 2010. 2007 is when I started. My first run that I registered for was then Standard Chartered Mumbai Marathon. That was my first full marathon. That was my first run that I started, primarily because of a few friends in college who were.
You were in your B school then?
I was in B school. I was in IIM Ahmedabad then. So a bunch of us friends were running, so I also joined along with them. And I didn't know how far is 40 kilometers.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you were training inside your campus most of the time.
Most of the time. It used to be fun, and we used to run at 2 a.m. in the morning till 4 a.m. Right, so it used to be a lot more fun. So, but why I stuck to that is I never meditated in my life, right? And whenever I wanted to introspect and retrospect and things like that, right, I would sleep off.
Okay.
Right, so you have to be alone, and you're sitting and thinking, you end up sleeping.
It's a first world solution for meditation.
Right. So then, but what I realized was, when you're running, even though you're running with a bunch of friends and stuff like that, you can't keep talking because your breath goes for a toss. You do the long distances, right? You get so much of time to think about, reflect on things that worked well for you, things didn't work well for you, and stuff like that, and over a period of time. So what usually it used to happen is, after a long run, I would be physically tired, but mentally super fresh. Right, that kept me going. And in Taxiforsure also, when the Kaveri Trail Marathon happened, and the Urban Stampede happened, I kind of made it mandatory for the folks who used to work with me to run all those. And some of those people still continue to run, right? Even for the Ironman Goa that we talked about, right? So at Zolve, we had, I think we had the largest number of relay teams.
Oh, wow.
From Zolve. I think we had 6 or 7 teams.
Wow.
Right, from Zolve, right? And we couldn't find swimmers. We got some external swimmers.
Oh, wow.
But there were teams who were completely with Zolve. Zolve, right? So that used to be fun. So it just rubs off. Right, coming back to your question, right, entrepreneurship is also a long journey, right? Your motivation has to be significantly different, right? And again, drawing parallels to, because the event is not really that matters. So the exit of a startup is not why you really start for a startup. You start a startup because you like the journey. Right? You want to leave the world a bit better than how it is as of now, right? The journey is a lot more important, and nobody starts a company to sell.
Yeah.
Right, so nobody wants to join an event to complete the event and stuff like that. It's the training, the process, the journey is a lot more important. So that's where I think I draw parallels there. The journey is a lot more important, and there are the ups and downs in the life of an entrepreneur. While training also, there are good days, there are bad days, there are hopeless days. Right, in entrepreneurial journey also it could be the same thing. So I think both of them fed onto
You
each
just show
other,
up.
and right, and
Yeah.
here we are.
So, if we kind of go backwards, were you always athletic, staying fit? Raghu, growing up in your college days, in your school days, what was
I
that
used
background?
to be more of an outdoor guy.
Okay.
Right, zero talents, no music, no arts and crafts,
Yeah.
zero talent
Right.
at all. Right, so mostly outdoors. I used to play cricket and football very, very religiously. Right, I used to be a fast bowler during my beginning days, and because of which running comes very much naturally to me. And I played after college also. Played for my Texas Instruments team, then IMA team, and wherever I was a consultant, I started playing there also. But once we started startup, we couldn't really get 11 people who will play and will train and stuff like that because the time we keep. But it used to be more of an outdoor-ish person.
So, what does staying fit or fitness mean to you today? Like, how would you define fitness for yourself?
No, I think it's a good question. Fitness is all about, I think it's more of a reflection of your state of mind. Right? If you are disciplined, discipline, because fitness demands discipline. You can possibly do those one-off half marathons, one-off 10 kilometers and stuff like that. But if you really have to remain fit, there is a significant amount of discipline that one has to carry. Right, and if you're disciplined, it's a reflection of your mind. And I'm more of a morning person. Right, I start my workouts probably 4:30 or 5 a.m. early in the morning, and by the time I'm done, I feel super fresh. So that freshness carries through the day. Then there are days or there are periods of time when I'm not able to do because of my travel or whatever it is. Right, I feel drained. Right, even though ideally it's counterintuitive. You work out like mad in the mornings, and the day goes through complete with so much of energy. When you don't do anything, you rested well and stuff like that. You feel that part of the laziness creeping in. Right, and when you are in that zone of fitness and stuff like that, right? Some of the oily foods, fried foods, and stuff like that.
Nutrition kind of
feel like eating them also. Right, and you sleep well in the night. Right, there is so much of positivity around. Right, a lot of positive thoughts also come to the mind and things like that. So effectively, all this complete together is how I would define as fitness. Not just physical part of it, but the mental part of it also.
No, I would agree to the previous point what you said about discipline. And one thing which I learned over the past few years of having been doing marathoning is that the motivation is overrated and discipline is underrated. It's so easy, and motivation is abundance. Like anywhere you go, you can get motivation. People are giving, selling all the way, but discipline is really scarce. And once you kind of imbibe that, you are in a very different trajectory, because you can start exploring the very unique, different side of yours, which you probably would not have known for many, many years, right? So, no, I'm completely in sync with you. So, so you're a marathoner, you're an Ironman. Just to set context for people who don't know, Ironman would mean your 3 sports: swimming, cycling, running. A full Ironman would be what, 5 kilometers swimming?
3.8.
3.8, 180 kilometer cycling, and 42.2, that's full marathon that you do non-stop. Half Ironman would be half of it. And you have done marathons. Do you have any count of how many Ironmans you have done?
1 full and 7 half Ironmans.
7 half marathons, right? What's your best finish time for one you have done full? So
13.5 hours.
13.5. And for half Ironman, what's your finish time?
5 hours, 5.5 hours.
5.5 hours. How many marathons you have done? Countless.
A lot of them.
Many.
I mean, it's been what, 16 years?
16 years. So on an average, 1 a year, if you consider, probably what, 12 to 15 years, 12 to 15 marathons so far, right? What was that? Marathon started when you were in your B school. That's how you. When did Ironman start for you? What was that journey?
So that was after the Taxiforsure exit. So then I thought that, okay, after the exit, let me learn new skills. So I didn't know how to swim, so I went to the swimming pool. 2 months I was playing around the swimming pool than inside the pool.
Okay.
Then I realized that I'm not going to learn swimming by doing this. So in order to really do something which we think is hard, probably you need to take up a challenge which is much more harder. So I went and registered for the full Ironman.
Okay, without knowing
how to
swimming. Yeah, and I feel embarrassed because this is something what you've been telling me all this while to, learn swimming, and I didn't. It's very hard to accept that you didn't have the skill. You signed up for the event and then you went out and learned the skill. How was that process? And talk to me in terms of that mental process. You're getting into something where you have a goal defined now, and you're working backwards to acquire the skill against a time. And this is when, of course, now you have some time for yourself personally, but you still have to kind of go through learning a new physical skill which doesn't come naturally to people at a certain age. What was that experience for you?
Oh, nobody told me that.
Now you realize.
No, I realized that nobody told me that then.
Yeah.
Right? So because of which it was a lot more easy. Because you have to swim 3.8 kilometers, right? Then jumping to the pool is not really hard. Right? If I'm not going to be able, because you're only thinking about the 3.8 kilometers. So then this 25-meter pool doesn't really doesn't look so scary.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Right? It doesn't look so scary. So then you do this. Then you start with 25 meters, then make it 50 meters, then you make it 100 meters, and then make it 200 meters. So as part of that, so this was December 16, I think.
Okay.
This was December 16. February 16, I had registered for a Olympic triathlon in Goa.
Okay.
Open water.
Okay.
So I thought 2 months is good enough to really figure that out.
Okay.
And the full Ironman was in September.
Okay. This is the South
2017.
Korea one which you did?
South Korea. All right. So then, from December to February, I could swim 200 meters at a stage without.
But you had to learn swimming even for the February one, for the Goa one also.
Goa.
Yeah.
Right. So I had staggered it that way.
Okay.
So October I did. December I registered. February I did Goa. June I did half Ironman.
Okay.
Florida.
Okay.
And then September was the full Ironman.
Full Ironman.
Right. So
Okay.
it was like.
So you planned out entire, right?
First I did the research for the full Ironman.
Yeah.
Then I figured out the half Ironman.
Yeah.
Then I figured out the Goa thingy.
Yeah.
Then I started doing that.
Talk to me your typical training routine, like for when you're getting into a sport like Ironman, how consuming it is, because you are now dabbling with 3 different sports.
Before that, it was running was not really a pain.
Yeah, because that
Mentally,
came
I was fine
naturally.
because I used to do marathons and stuff like that. Cycling also 180 kilometers is a stretch, but cycling also you know that you're not going to die. The only problem that I had was with swimming.
Yeah.
Right. So why I was talking about the Goa thing is by February when the Goa event was happening, I could swim 200 meters non-stop, and Goa was 1.5 kilometers.
Okay.
Right, so it was like 750 meters
In and out.
700 meters, 100 meters, and 700 meters, so that people don't collide. Right, and I could swim for 200 meters. Thought probably lets me open water that too, and I've trained only in the pool, open water. Then I thought if I'm able to do it, let me go there, show up. Let's swim for 200 meters. Right, and the organizers told there is kayaks, there are boats, there are jet bikes and stuff like that, right?
So you're not dialed in before you go to the start line there, you're going to finish that 1.5 kilometer?
No, I thought I'll do 200 meters, how much ever it is.
Okay,
right? I will do that and stuff like that. Right, so then I was like, okay, fine. Then I went 200 meters, then I swam for 200 meters. Then I realized that, done. Let me go back. So I got up from my freestyle pose and I looked up for a kayak or a boat and just nobody's around.
Okay.
Then I was like wondering, okay, if I can swim back 200 meters back,
Okay.
I can actually swim 500 meters ahead.
Right.
Because there is nobody else.
And had you done the open water before that day?
First time.
So that was the first time you're showing for an event and you're doing open water. Wow.
First time. So I swam 500 meters and I finished the swim.
Okay.
Then I was super happy. And the cycling and the running also happened immediately.
Okay.
Right. So that was
the Goa
the thing.
Olympic one.
Right. Olympic one. The Florida half Ironman is also amazing. So then I did, okay, I will not do what I did in Goa. I'll go the previous day and swim.
Okay.
Right. To figure out the track and stuff like that. So, and my brother also joined me in doing that. When we started the Florida one, so the previous day we'll go swim for some distance. So, and Florida is a lake, not sea, right? There are a lot of undergrowth and stuff like that. And when you catch and pull, right, a lot of grass also comes along with it.
Okay.
Right. And I was like, I used to get scared with that. Then with difficulty, we swam till some distance and we realized that, okay, fine. So we swam till here, so let's go back. And me and my brother came back.
Okay, so you did a recce before the race and then went back. Okay.
Right, went back. The next day when we got there, we realized that the distance till which we had swam, that is the starting point. And me and my brother were wondering, okay, we swam only till the starting point.
So the real race starts from there on.
Right, well, because it's a lake, right?
Yeah.
It's a lake with lots of, because there was grasses there, so they had not put the starting point. But till then also you have to swim.
Wow.
Then the actual thing have to really start. But it used to be funny. But by then, October, by September, when the Korea thing was there, I was fine with swimming. I had swam the distance before.
Were the weather conditions different for all those three? I mean, what do you say? Goa and Florida would have been almost similar.
Florida was bad, man.
Okay.
Florida was super bad.
Okay. In terms of, it was hot?
Oh, it was significantly. Florida is all rolling hills.
Yeah. Okay.
Completely rolling hills, and the lake and the sea are a lot more different.
Okay.
The sea, saltwater has buoyancy. Florida, the lake doesn't have buoyancy, right? And the sea, initially, when you have energy, you have to push hard to cut the waves. So when coming back, the waves also push you towards the shore. The lake, you have to put in the effort consistently through the entire course, right? And the cycling was bad, right? Running was all rolling hills. Right, it was painful. It was extremely painful, and cycling was lots of headwinds. And we take all these carbon cycles, which are lightweight. Headwinds are like the worst thing. The cycle doesn't go move forward only because there is no weight. Right, it's extremely hard.
Why have you stuck up to endurance as a sport? I mean, there could be so many sports. I mean, imagine if to stay fit, right? I mean, if staying fit is the primary goal. One would imagine there are quite a lot of sporting activities, right? So, why endurance sport?
So I never looked at it as endurance sports. It gives me that significantly longer duration of time to really be at something. Right, it's very difficult to not train and do an endurance sports. Right, so a 5 kilometer run or a 10 kilometer run, it's fine. You wake up and do. And I play occasional cricket matches and stuff like that. We don't, and football matches with the team and stuff like that. You don't really train. You just go show up and you play something and you come back. Right, you burn that calories and stuff like that. Endurance is where you have a purpose and you have a goal and you need to be doing that. Without that, it becomes right. So not necessarily endurance. Apart from triathlons and stuff like that, now these days I'm more looking at hiking and trekking and stuff like that.
I saw that. Yeah.
Climbing mountains around. But again, it's longer distance, longer duration, right? And you got to really remain fit to really get it done. It's more of that journey than endurance as such.
Okay.
Something to train towards. To something. I mean, every morning you wake up, you have something to look forward to, right? And endurance sports gives you that longer duration motivation than an instant thing.
Is there a mental model in the sense that, and I'm trying to again draw parallel to entrepreneurship, which is what you've spent most of your professional career. There are these small milestones. You kind of have a process towards a larger goal. And that seems to be kind of a parallel here, that whatever activity you choose, the process is making sense to kind of pursue it. End goal is perhaps giving that endorphin high that you've achieved it, and that's the kind of reflection to what entrepreneurship is. So is that a mental model which is getting developed over the years, you've realized?
So there are multiple things, right? So I'm more of a social media shy person. I'm not necessarily.
I thought I'll ask you later what's your social media protocol, but now it's clear you're not there.
No, I don't do that all. So whatever I do is primarily for myself, right? Than for, I don't even talk about what all I've done and things like that in any of the social media and things like that. It's more for an internal consumption and things like that. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, it is not really so. I mean, people get to know and things like that. There, I think it would diverges. But both of them have the common root, right? That whoever is doing it, right, has to be driven to really make it, right? And even though these are endurance sports are potentially solo sports,
yes,
right? But there's always a team behind that, right? Whether when I was part of pacemakers, figuring out and Pandi sir helped me significantly. My wife and my family supports significantly. And some of the other people that I probably train with, right? So they also are supportive. So I had a bunch of people to train for swimming, a different set of people to train for cycling, and a complete different set of people for running and stuff like that, right? And so the entire ecosystem comes together to really make it happen. And people see it's not just me doing it.
Yes, but there's a
able to do it,
community
right?
behind.
Right? So they see that me accomplishing something, they see that it's a success for them. Not, and entrepreneurship also has that, right? So you have a team, even though it's the founders' name that gets published everywhere. The founders are the ones who are interviewing and stuff like that, right? The team relates to that, right? The success of the company is not just the founders, but the entire teams. Even though it is the face of the company is the founder, right? The team starts feeling the same excitement, level of excitement, and the same level of accomplishment, the same level of success, and stuff like that, right? And that, I think, is something that you need to really do that.
What's typically a training routine, you dabble mostly in triathlons, which is 3-part activity. For me, getting up in the morning, the only thing which I'm worrying is getting the run, coming back and doing stretching. But you have to kind of dabble up all different activities. So typically when you're training in your training season block, what's your like a weekly routine like?
So that typically starts like 5 to 6 months before the actual event, right? And when you do that, initially you start doing a lot of stretching. Beginning, you do a lot of stretching, and that you do it for probably a week or two. After that, for the next 2 months, you do one activity per day.
Okay.
Either you swim or you cycle or you bank.
That's tactical in terms of base building.
Base building, you start doing that, and then the 4th month onwards, you start doing a bridge.
Okay.
Right. So where you do swimming and cycling, or cycling and running, or swimming and running, and stuff like that, where you start doing that.
So you're now building your endurance.
Exactly. And so a few weeks before the actual event, you start doing all the 3 during the weekends.
Okay.
Right. So there, when you're doing the single activity and stuff like that, there is a training program, and weekends is when you really push or do a longer distance and stuff like that. Right. And you plan for your nutrition, your hydration, your lactose tolerance habits, and also the what will you use?
The hydration
caffeine,
strategy,
everything, right? So that you probably start doing it through the course, so that the body gets
adapted
get
to
used
it.
to it. Right. So all that you do.
Yeah. Do you think so? You, like you said, you started your debut at triathlons when you were in the transition. Of course, you were doing a lot of other work during that time. Would you have done that had you been full time as an operator, as an entrepreneur, or do you think that was more tactical and easier for you to do when that kind of work stress was not there on you?
So it made sense then. But now looking back, now I'm training for the hike also, right? And I'm running a full-fledged thing also. But then my kids were too small, weren't going to school then. So now my kids go to school. So I need to wrap up my training by 6:30 a.m. So I start 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning and stuff like that. Right. So now I don't really, so obviously it helps if you don't really have anything else much to do and stuff like that, right? If you don't really have a 9 to 5 kind of a job and stuff like that, it definitely helps. But that's not the only thing. Right. So you're able to make time to do that. And usually in a day, I would train for 2 hours, and over the weekends, probably 4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
Right. And leading up to the event, weekends would go up to 7 to 8 hours.
Right.
Right. But 2 hours every day during the week.
How do you calibrate your goals in terms of the constraints you have? For example, back then when you did, you had, like you said, kids were way too young, you had time in hand, you are still training, you still do those Ironmans and marathons. So how do you calibrate your goal time basis on the constraints you have, and then come back and say, look, this should be my goal considering these other factors or limitations I have in hand?
No, that's so I wouldn't really do it that way.
Okay.
Right. Effectively, I think I don't know. Even though I'm training for 2 hours every day, right, the effective utilization of those 2 hours is increased significantly. Right. And given the experience that I have and stuff like that, now I know we all have made mistakes. What are the things that I need to improve on? So here, this is the time that I would really do that. So I still continue to push, right, on the goal time. Right. I'm not really looking at a podium and stuff like that. I just want to push. So the whole thing is I need to be better than how I was before. Right. And I know that there are people at my age level, my fitness level, who are doing much better for whatever reasons or something like that. So I'm not really benchmarking myself with respect to that. If similar people are able to do that much, I should be able to push myself to be better than what I was earlier. So my competition and stuff like that is my previous self. Right. And the family gives you a significant amount of the motivation. Right. You don't put this on one side and family on the other side and start comparing, right? Because there is a family and you need to be available for the family and stuff like that, right? You need to do that part of the thing also. And because these are some things that you love to do, you have to focus on this as well. So you have to really start figuring out how do we do this.
There's a compounding effect which I've seen is that when you are a seasoned entrepreneur, or like they say, repeat entrepreneur, or people call it also serial entrepreneur, the experience compounds. So when you come back and do another company, the past experience can also be a liability, can also be an asset, right? Likewise, I've seen in endurance running, the more you do, your fitness compounds. So there's a physiological benefit which kind of carries on. So the grind what you were doing early on, probably you might not have to do that much, but then there is a benefit of something what you have done few years back consistently. It will come handy to you. Do you think that kind of makes sense in your realm of world, that you have done entrepreneurship earlier, you're back now, that's another endurance event, you've done consistently more than a dozen of marathons, your experience in your triathlons. Now when you do, considering those I would call not limitations, but considering the factors, the more demand of your time is there and you're not able to put that amount of intensity, that is anchoring your overall that pursuit.
So that's where I think probably the endurance sports and the entrepreneurship differ a bit, right? When you're an entrepreneur, right, if you have built a very good team, right, so most of the heavy lifting the team would possibly do, so that you can make that little bit of time for yourself, right? If every day in entrepreneur life is a crazy day, there is something majorly wrong. Right, so there are days when you need to be available for a team, probably 24/7 and stuff like that. Then you probably cut down on your practice and do that, and doesn't really happen every single day, right? But when it comes to the endurance sports, you are kind of alone, right? You got to really push and stuff like that, right? And sometimes when you're training for that, right, so you are reflecting on your business, on the conversation with your team and stuff like that now, right? A lot of interesting ideas come, a lot of solutioning happens while training for that. Otherwise, how will you keep running for like 3 hours, 4 hours without, I mean, what do you think about?
Yeah.
Right? You swim for 2 hours, what do you think about?
Yeah.
Right? You cycle for 5, 6 hours, and stuff, what do you think about? Right?
Yeah.
So then that's when you are thinking about a lot of things. So when you come back, right, you have been able to get your me time. From otherwise you get into the office, it's all meetings. When you get to think, right? You are there because you can think, not just to do meetings, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time goes in preparing yourself, so that helps. But there you're more of an individual. You got to push. Here you have a team.
Okay.
To really take care of it. Should be part of the decision making, right? You provide help in executing and things like that. If you have been able to build a good team, great, right? And then, if you want to pursue other things and stuff like that, then you need to invest energies in building up a good team. The team will be able to do a lot more job on the entrepreneurship side.
So the endurance side, I'm sorry. So endurance side, you got to consistently build yourself, but here you basically build a support system around yourself so that they anchor you to get more success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So because as an entrepreneur, right, you need to think a couple of steps ahead.
Steps ahead, yeah.
Right. Not all of us have to be playing what is happening for the here and now, right? You need to start thinking about a couple of steps, and the best time to do is when you're training.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about your the routine you got in mental fitness. Right? I mean, we spoke about physical fitness. What's in your toolkit? Again, endurance on both sides. I'm sure over the past few years you might have got a certain toolkit to kind of condition and train yourself in building up that mental strength, because both is an stressful piece. So what do you carry with yourself all the time on your toolkit to kind of, and how do you exercise that mental strength part of it?
So there, right, I mean, the significant thing that has really helped me will sound weird, to be shameless.
Okay. Elaborate.
Right? I just talk about anything and everything with several people.
Okay.
Right. So earlier I used to like, okay, why would I engage with you on something that is happening in some part of my life, right? That is not relevant to you and stuff like that, right? But so the moment I start doing that, no, it gets a bit more lighter. Everything becomes very lighter. So now I don't really have several filters and stuff like that. So I engage with a whole lot of people, right? And every conversation becomes that way. Right, one is to be shameless. Second thing is, right, throughout my life, I've drawn inspiration from folks that I meet. What I mean by that is, I don't really have a single hero that I look up to. Right, I never was a hero worshipper and stuff like that. But what I do is, I start relating to the people that I hang out with. Someone is good at this, someone is better at this, and stuff like that, right? And we have a similar upbringing. How can that person be better at it?
Better, yeah.
Right? What is that person has that I don't have? I mean, is there a way for me to learn that person? Right? And thankfully, all my life, I've been part of good education institutes, good companies. I've been part of some amazing bunch of folks, right? And that has gotten me to where I am today than anything else. And learning always keeps you. I mean, there is something about curiosity, right? You can't restrict curiosity to a single field, right? Curiosity is partly part of your nature itself. If you're curious in one thing, curious in building your own startup, being an entrepreneur, cracking few new deals and stuff like that, or being an endurance athlete. So you did something, you did a marathon, then you moved to a triathlon, then you are doing Ironman events and stuff like that, right? Then you're climbing the mountains and things like that, right? So because you're curious, what does this entail? What does this entail? What does this entail? And building on this, right? And you are that curiosity. Whenever you meet new people, right? There is always a curiosity. So I meet new entrepreneurs, new founders, and stuff like that when they're pitching, right? So I'm not really listening to their idea, and but I want to understand them as people, right? And there are some early 20 folks who energize me, who teach me a lot. By the way, there are these 60-year-old, 70-year-old folks who been there, seen life, right? They have a whole lot to teach, right? When you are speaking to such a wide span of people, no, there is always this. So I always felt that communication is probably the biggest lever that you have, and obviously, right? So there is something that you can also offer them. It's not really a one-way street.
Yeah.
There is something that you can offer. There's something that they can offer, and it is like an idea, right? It's not like money,
Yeah.
right? If you have an idea and if you share that idea with me, both of us have the same idea.
Yeah.
If you have money and you share the money with me, or only I have money, you don't have money.
Yeah.
Right. But so mental fitness is also something like that, right? Communicating, opening up and stuff like that. And I've also realized that when you open up, invariably the other person also feels obligated to open up also.
Yeah.
So
There's an emotional connect.
there's a significantly emotional connect. And earlier I would restrict myself from doing all that and things like that. That works.
And is a new attribute which you kind of got yourself into, or
Learned along the way, right? From initially, one point I started opening up, then I realized that people reciprocate it. Right? Not all of them, obviously, right? But majority of them do that. That's good enough.
Yeah.
To do that, right? And spending time with family.
Yeah.
Right. That way, and travel is another thing.
Yeah.
Right. I travel across the world.
Yeah.
Every year. Travel also plays a significant role. Right. So that's more like it. And I read a lot.
Yeah.
I read a lot. So whenever I find time, I end up reading.
But two things which stand out. I mean, for sure, I have to put in on Andhrakar. You've been a great sounding board for me in several ways. Being as an entrepreneur, many times have pinged you good times, bad times, and you always give me a realistic picture. So can't thank you enough for that. But I also remember one moment when you said about asking out. Back in the days when you were thinking about training for a marathon, you had pinged me saying that, hey, who do you think is a good coach? And I was wondering, I mean, this guy has already done a ton of marathons already. By now, he should have figured it out. He knows marathoning ABC, but he's still coming out and say he wants a coach. That doesn't come naturally. Someone who has done multiple, it's like you've done multiple companies and now you say that I want to learn basics of fundraising after actually fundraising multiple times. So for me, I can resonate now with what you're saying, because that was my moment of being on the other side with you when you had reached out to me. How do you choose whom to ask? Because you could have some mental models, right? I mean, in whatever factors you have.
No, so I know that you run phenomenally, way better than I am. Even though I've been running for a very long time, and that was never my pursuit. Also, I used to run for a different reason altogether. So you run much better, right? Much faster, much longer, and stuff like that. So you must have figured it out from somewhere. Let's say maybe you can help me, or you know somebody who can help me. So then there is nothing.
Yeah. So it's essentially looking at the top-down approach to say that if someone has gotten to some level in terms of whatever the milestone of success is, they might have a code behind. So basically asking them to open source it to say where did they get the code
The
from.
worst case is they will not probably have anything much. So then, which is the current case. If at all they share something, that's a better thing. And you put me in touch with pacemakers.
Yeah. And that turned out well. What's your current marathon PB?
Marathon I haven't done recently.
Okay.
Half marathon I've done 142.
142. Yeah, that's massive. And 10K?
10K is 42.
42. Wow. Massive.
Dude, you are in 30s, man. What are you
No, I'm not in 30s though. Yeah, I mean, calling 30s and saying late 30s makes a lot of difference. You know the numbers in the endurance sports. So shifting gears, you've been a data guy in terms of numbers. What does data mean to you in terms of health parameter? I mean, are you into wearables? I know you are in Whoop now, which is amazing. How do you, what's your data set in terms of your health and fitness parameters? And what stuff are you kind of tracking right now?
So earlier I used to only focus on the pace, right? The speed is what mattered and stuff like that. For a period of time, I realized that speed is not the only thing. I need to do strengthening, I need to do stretching and stuff like that. And there are no data there and stuff like that. And I was so much into data, right? Every time I would keep looking at my watch while running, right? And I got into a point because it became a significant burden. So I stopped wearing watch and I used to run because I stopped enjoying running when I got too much into data and stuff like that, right?
Is it like it's because of overwhelming?
Because I'm always looking, so I put up a mental target. So I need to be doing this,
Okay.
right? I need to get into a sub 5 and sub 4 kilometer and space and stuff like that. I'm always looking at the watch. I'm also then over a period of time, I lost the joy of running.
Okay.
So then I got out of the watch and I started running. Right. So when I got back the age, then I started looking at data much more in a restrictive manner than going too much into that and things like that, right? And over a period of time, I realized that. As we grow older, the body takes a lot of time for recovery. Recovery is something that I never focused on. Right, I always felt that I can push, I can do whatever it is, and things like that. And right, I would focus on my nutrition.
Okay.
Right, I'd focus on my fitness. I would focus on my health and things like that. And never focused on my sleep.
Okay.
And recoveries because sleep just happens.
Yeah.
You're physically tired, you sleep.
It's a chore. Yeah.
Right, and you just
Yeah.
But these days I realized that good sleep is significantly necessary for having a better life.
Yeah.
Right? Sleep determines everything.
Yeah.
So my Whoop is all about sleep. The recoveries itself.
What's your maximum recovery streak so far? How much have you hit?
I've hit around 140, 150.
Wow.
Close to that.
Wow. Nice. What's your relationship with food? Is it a means to put something into the body, or is it a source to help you condition, make you go out and perform better, both training or at work? How do you look at food?
So during my non-training days and stuff like that, food is just a means to live. I'm not really a foodie kind of stuff. When I'm in training, I just keep a close watch on what I eat, what I consume, right? Whether it's going to be proteins, fibers, and things like that. And so water intake will be significantly higher, right? Food is also a typical South Indian Indian families, right? We prefer to use fresh food and packaged food and stuff like that. And given that I travel so frequently to the US, in the US I end up eating packaged foods, but in India it's all fresh, completely fresh.
Okay. So there is an eye in terms of what you're putting into the system. So as you get closer to the training, you have some format you might have figured out by now what works and what doesn't work for you.
Yes.
Right. You also spend awful lot of time, and I say awful lot of time because it doesn't come so easy for someone who has so much on his plate in working and mentoring startup founders, and I was lucky to be one of them. Are there any tenets of your sporting experience, your endurance experience, what you have seen commonly been applying as you talk to these founders in terms of their struggles Because often at time they're stuck somewhere and you're trying to show them or rather tell them what not to do, which probably you have learned the hard way, right? So have you seen any facets of what has actually gone through in your endurance experience, which you see commonly and non-intuitively coming through in your advice to these founders?
So, multiple places actually, right? There are people who probably take entrepreneurship as a 100-meter sprint. Right, that's a complete no-no. Right, and there are people, right, who just want to give up. That also is something complete no-no, right? And so people have to be steady. People have to be prepared when the opportunity will open up, right? People have to be prepared. Some people wait till the opportunity opens up for starting the preparation. It's like you don't train, but on the day of the event you want to really do something about it, and so that is also not really good. And starting a marathon with a 100-meter dash is also not necessarily a great thing. I don't think that is, I think, probably at an extremely basic level. And over a period of time, I think most of the entrepreneurs struggle from loneliness. Right, and that's where you need to really put them in touch with some people who are also part of the journey, or you share some stories of your journey where you hit that, let's say the runner's fall and things like that, and how did you able to overcome it, right? You're not trying to find a solution for them. You are just telling them that we were also in the same place, and this is how we navigated our way through, right? And I don't know, it so often happens that people don't really want to listen to a solution. People just want to know that they are not alone. Some people, right, people who they thought have been there, done that, right, have also gone through a similar struggle, right? And you show your vulnerable side also to them, so that gives them a significant amount of comfort because they're smart enough to figure out a solution. It's just that they're not thinking about it; they're worrying about the situation that they are in, not really trying to do a solution. Once they feel that the solution is normal, as expected, and stuff like that, people have been able to do that. And in endurance sports also, you go through injury, right? People, I mean, the number of ligament tears, the ITL, right, issues that people have gone through, right? I see that, right? So some of the people that I used to run with have gone through all that. So then I put them in touch with other people who have gone through the same similar story, right? How they have been able to overcome. Some people have quit endurance sports just because they had a ligament tear, right? Fine, that's the thing. But you talk to other people before you eventually hang your boots, right? So so there are things. The first set of trouble, you don't pack up your boots. Right? In both the cases, right? You talk to people, engage in conversation. Everybody goes through this. Some people a bit too early in their life, some people a bit later in their life, but everybody, all of us go through that. But when you talk to people, when you see what they've done and things like that, that gives them significant amount of hope, and hope matters for an endurance sport. Right? You need to visualize. When you're able to visualize, everything becomes, even in entrepreneur also, you need to visualize it. Right? There have been good days. You need to visualize that the same days will happen again. Right, so that you go through the bad days. Otherwise, it becomes too extremely hard.
Maybe also I think visualization is also one of the underrated techniques, right? I mean, it's super. It's I feel some days it's superpower.
Without visualization, it's so difficult to do anything. You got to visualize. I mean, you need to put yourself there and visualize that, and you want to get there. Right? It's a pursuit. Visualization is phenomenally strengthening. You have that mental picture, right? When there is pain in your body, when you want to give up, when you're feeling pukish and stuff like that, you just keep visualizing it. It pumps in that adrenaline so much into you. So
I absolutely anchor because like visualization in sports is like you're visualizing yourself in that halfway through 21K mark, realizing that you have 21 more to go if you're doing a full marathon, and at 35 kilometer you realize that the race is just going to begin now, and that's where you're going to kind of pedal up and go faster, right? So kind of mentally preparing that mind frame often kind of comes at like a superpower when you're doing it, because now your mind is trained that this is what it's not coming as a shock. And like you said, even if you're an entrepreneur, right? I mean, you have to visualize the odds of you being success are very low, right? I mean, so you like you said, you wake up saying that there's a bad day or there's a good day, the chances are that you can go nowhere, but there is a very thin chances that you can make it. So you're constantly reminding yourself to say that, okay, this is something which is coming your way.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. On the odds bit, no, I never play the odds. I'll tell you why, right? CET, I wrote CET, and the number of people who write CET.
Just CAT for IIMs,
right, and CAT also, right?
Yeah.
The number of people who make it to the IIMs are extremely low, but you never bother about that because you want to be there. You're not trying to be 0.1% of the people who write. You just want to make it. Correct. So all your preparation is, oh my God, am I the guy who is top 1,000 among the 5 lakh people who write CAT?
Right.
If you start thinking that, hey, you can't put yourself in 1,000 because you know what all you're bad at.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, you just prepare and you just give CAT and do that. So you don't think about the odds. And I don't even remember the number of people who wrote CAT along with me.
Yeah.
Even the CET that year and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
Similarly for entrepreneurship also, it doesn't really matter. And when I started running the movie marathon, I didn't know how many people in India had run a full marathon.
Yeah, way back when you said 2007, there would be like...
Exactly. So you don't do that only. When I started doing triathlons also, right? I ran full Ironman, right? I didn't know how many people had done full Ironman in India at all.
Yeah.
And
Must be very few.
Do going forward also. I don't know that. But no, you just taken up something, you want to do it, you feel confident that you are able to do it. Right? You just prepare, train yourself and go ahead and do that. If you are able to complete it, great. If you're not able to complete it, come back. You have so much, you learned so much. You'll be probably better prepared than the guy who finished the previous time.
Yeah.
Because what all could go wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's always been an entrepreneur also, right?
Yeah.
When we started also, when I started Taxiforsure, I was 28. Right? I thought that I'll work for 32 years of my life. Right? 60 probably I'll retire. So I just wanted to give...
Oh, for another 32 years.
Another 32 years, right? Not...
Yeah. I thought by 4 years you were done.
Another 32 years. So I thought, so let me try this for 2 years. Right? 2 years out of 30 years, 32 years is not a big deal. Right? If nothing happens, I used to be a consultant, I'll probably be a better consultant because when you're failing, you will leave no stone unturned to make it a success.
Yeah.
Right? Despite all that also you fail. Right? You learn so much. So then as a consultant, I can add a lot more value to all my clients. Right?
Yeah.
But if you succeed, you have a story to tell.
Yeah.
That's what it is all about.
Yeah.
Right.
You have 2 kids at home, right? What is the identity they know you more better? Is it dad who is an athlete who gets up every day in the morning, gets in 2 hours? Or dad who is an entrepreneur trying to build something over the last few years, has done it, is already doing it? Which identity is more relevant to them?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know. I don't see them either thinking about one is 10, another is 6.
Okay. Too young.
Right. Too young to really figure that. My niece wants to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
My son and daughter
Still figuring out.
Right. We haven't. My 8-year-old niece wants to be an entrepreneur.
Nice.
I don't know why.
Nice.
Right.
She must be reading a lot about you already.
My son is not. I want really. My son feels that So because we work US time zone, he knows that I come back home very late in the night. They sleep at around 7:30, 8 p.m. So I go home possibly after that. So that's the reason mornings I need to spend time with them. So that's the reason I need to finish my workout before they wake up and start getting onto the school bus and stuff like that. But weekends I spend time. The daughter is currently indifferent. She knows that I work out a lot, I run a lot and stuff like that. So the thing is, they come along during my runs also. So both of them can do 10 kilometers.
Oh, nice.
Easily. The son comes for all my hikes also.
Wow.
Most of the hikes is there.
Yeah.
Right. The son is more of an outdoorish person. The daughter is more of a book. So I think my daughter sees me as more of a person who reads than my being my entrepreneur journey or my run journey and something. But they know that I'm more of an outdoor guy.
Outdoor guy. So this, I think this bring back to this factor about family, and we touched upon that. Family is a very key part of the team out there, which is doing a lot of work at the back end. Now in this situation where you are there but you're not there, in the sense that you're working, coming back, and like you said, you have to work in US time zones, you have that responsibility, and when you're training, that's another bit which is taking time away from them, right? this part of managing time with family and the passion and the work, right? That understanding, do you think has built on you in terms of evolved over the years, or do you think, because I've struggled till a few
Everybody
years
struggles,
back.
man. I've been part of the receiving end so often.
Yeah, so
Everybody struggles,
right,
yes.
but then I've also realized that kind of I've come to terms to reality. Look, it's hard to balance. You have to kind of accept trade-off somewhere. So if you want to be a very good family man, you have to be reasonable. That look, maybe you're not doing incredibly good at A or B. Like for example, in training, right? If it consumes so much of time, if you want to do X time, it would demand a lot of your time. And that's, I mean, we are all recreational guys. So if you're doing all of that, you have to do a trade-off, right? So is it okay to say that, everyone has to evolve over a period of time, or is there a certain curriculum?
What I've done is I do this for probably 6 to 8 months a year.
Okay.
The remaining time I completely socialize.
Okay.
Right. So that's one. Right. So it's not that I do this kind of.
So that's kind of blocked out in your calendar.
12 months time, right? So it typically starts in March, April, and I do my events in September, October, and stuff like that, right? So then the festival season starts, and right, we should be able to manage that. So that's one part of the thing, right? The second part of the thing is, thankfully, these endurance sports happens all across the world, right? The Florida one that I talked about, no, I did Florida because the family could do Disneyland.
Okay, very tactical.
Right. And the Korea also is because of that.
Okay.
They wanted to visit Korea, so we did the full Ironman happened in Korea.
Okay.
Because the family can travel.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So now the hiking that I was talking about,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So the family wants to do the safari.
Yeah. Right.
So I go first. I do the event, and the last day of the event, the family lands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So there is something in it for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are trying to figure out a way
Carrying
to
the team
balance.
along with all the
Exactly.
Talk to me about the new adventure. So marathoning, triathlon, and hikes. And I'm seeing you doing a lot of your treks on Strava. What's next, and how are you training for?
So I'm planning to climb the Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
So this June.
Okay.
Right. So I wanted to do the Everest Base Camp, but the family has nothing to do in and around
In Everest Base.
Right. So then they thought that okay, Everest Base Camp is
The
also
least they can go
close
is Kathmandu. Yeah.
to- right. So Kilimanjaro is also similar height as the Everest Base Camp. So do Kilimanjaro. So they can do the African safari.
And how are you training for that?
So I do a lot of cardio, right, and of late I've started doing pranayama also,
Okay.
because the oxygen
Breathing,
is
yeah.
lesser, which is very new. I never did that. I didn't have to do that, and so a whole lot of breath exercises and things like that. And weekends I climb
Okay.
mountains with ankle weights and a
Okay.
heavy backpack
Wow.
and stuff like that. I just want to really start. Continue to be bodily function with taking little amount of oxygen.
When you sign up for these new adventures, what is the process of your training? Are you do you get quickly someone to guide you through the process, or are you kind of learning and kind of evolving all by yourself that how to kind of
So
crack it?
both actually. So before I choose something, I speak to some people who have already done that, right? And you can easily get access to those folks. And I talk to them and I figure out that mentally I feel that I should be able to do it. So then I start training for that. So one is to really feel whether I can able to do it. What kind of commitment it requires? What kind of fitness would it require? Right? And what should I do a lot more differently than what I was doing earlier? Right. So once I get a comfort that I should be able to do it, and with the time that I have, the time that I can make for all this, I should be able to do that. So then it becomes a bit more easier. Then, right, but depending on what am I good at, where am I struggling, and stuff like that, right? So then I'd start fine tuning it.
Okay.
Because people are different. I can't take somebody else's training calendar and adapt it to myself.
Yeah.
Because the way they are built, what are their struggles, what are their strengths, so it's difficult to know. So once I get a feel of that bit, then I start improvising it.
Yeah. Talk about any instance where you had in your mind chosen to do, but then after this exercise, what you also call, I remember you often used to tell me market research. So when you do that research, you come back and say, okay, this is not happening. So next could be, so I have talked to me any instance where you chose something and you came back and say, no, this doesn't make sense now.
So wanted to run the Antarctica Marathon.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Whoever made you say not to do, did a good job.
Exactly. So then I thought that not yet.
Yeah.
And there was another thing also. There is something that happens in Norway where they take you in a ship and drop you in the Arctic Ocean and you have to swim back to the coast.
Yeah.
That also was something that I wanted to do.
Okay.
I realized that,
Who's feeding you all of these things?
my brother is in the US.
Okay.
So
You have good company.
right. So
Adventure
he
is
does-
in the blood.
Yeah, see, he does that. So we have done quite a few Ironmans.
Great.
Right.
Great.
So he does that. So stuff like that is where I've
Awesome.
done research and things like that. Not now.
So let's shift gears. Zolve, a company which you're heading right now, brand new, another adventure, 100 plus people out there. I'm sure everyone by now know the adventurous Raghu and the fit Raghu. How important it is for you to have colleagues who are active, who are fit, and what do you do on your part outside of your to make sure that they're doing that?
Get me registered to events. We've sent 6 teams to Goa Ironman last year.
Wow.
And nobody had done Ironman. Nobody had not done triathlon only.
Wow.
And some people bought new gear to really do cycling and things like that over there. But it's always fun. It's always fun. See, I mean, I wouldn't have probably got into endurance sport if I wasn't there in 2007 in I'm of the one. Right? It's just that. So once I got onto that, I realized. Otherwise, if you would ask me to run 10K at 15K, I would like, why would anybody do that? Why do you have to run as much? Right? But once I got a handle of that, right? So I do it because I want to do it. Nobody's forcing me to do it. So it's just that exposing some people to something like that is significantly important. As I mentioned to you earlier also, right? In Taxiforsure, we made mandatory for people to run. And they ran. And some people continue to run. Right? Not all of them do. Right here also, you give them a platform for people to experience something which probably they won't experience it in their life. Right? And you have a good company. So people who have done this repeatedly in the past also. And if some people are able to figure out their mojo in this, I think that is a lot more fulfilling. Right? You don't search for, I mean, the way we make decisions also in the company, right? We don't spend too much of time in making the right decision. You make a decision and work towards making it right. Right? Here also you enroll into an event and then work towards making it that way.
Yeah, I remember you telling me once that when you hire, in the resume you look what kind of sport they have played. Is it a team sport? Is it a solo sport? Can you elaborate what's the mental framework there?
In a startup journey, right? So it's completely a team sport, right? And team sports are somebody who's played the team sports, right? Are essential, and there are multiple layers to this, right? It so happens that in a startup, we might hire people who are better than their bosses. Correct. And if somebody hasn't played a team sport, no, they don't understand that the star player may not necessarily be the captain. There is a role the captain plays, there is a role the star player plays. But if somebody who hasn't been through that, no, they feel that I'm the star player, I should have been the boss. If I'm better than the boss, then I should be the boss, not the thing, right? Somebody who's played, they understand that nuances. Right, and that is significantly important. And if there is an ego conflict between the star player and the captain, you know what will happen to the team.
Yeah.
Right, and that is the thing. That's one. And secondly, people have played team sports for years in their life, and every single game they would have fought, they would have played, they would have given their 100%. At least when I was growing up, right, we never played sports to stay fit.
Yeah.
We played sports because we loved to play the sports, and we quarreled, we fought, everything happened. Right? Everything was to win the game. Right? Because it was not for fitness. Nobody remembers the number of games they won till date. Right? That is significantly important. You played the game to win, but nobody kept a track of it.
Right? Is the camaraderie and the community building.
And the person you fought with you today, the next day the person is your teammate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't carry forward anything.
Yeah.
The package. Right? I mean, that is what is super important. And let's say if you take a cricket analogy, right? If the star batsman gets out for a duck, right? No other batsman feels that they have the right to get out for a duck. Because the star batsman has get out for a duck, right? And you don't, the captain doesn't come and give you a pep talk telling that, boss, star batsman is gone for a duck. Right? Now the responsibility lies on you. You got to play. Everybody goddamn knows what the role is. Right? If the star bowler gets a hit for runs, the other bowler will step up. The star batsman gets out for a touch, the other batsman will get out. Right? So that is super important. Let's say, right, that happens only if you played a sport. Right?
Yeah.
The startup is that. Right? And one day the star batsman got out for a touch, you save the day by playing well. And it is that people don't start feeling that they're superior than star player just because they saved one match. They know the class is permanent and the form is temporary. Everybody knows that, right? You need to be consistent to get into that class. Those are the attributes that makes the team a full team, right? If you have somebody with ego problems, I'm the star player, I'm better than the boss, then the entire team goes for a toss.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody saves the day. I mean, I've seen these places wherein right, there are times when people say that, oh, that person has so many years of experience in this field. That person is not able to solve. Why are you asking me to solve? It's the same star player getting out for a duck and the other person stepping in.
Yeah.
So there nobody asks questions. But when it comes to a working environment, people ask questions.
Yeah.
Right? That person has 10 years of experience in this field.
Why did he
that
fail?
person is not able to solve. How do you expect me to solve?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that is what we want to typically remove from the vocabulary when you're working on this and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And those nuances are significantly important, right? It's very difficult to build this into an individual who hasn't really played that team sport, right? And when people look back, they don't remember the number of victories, number of losses and stuff like that. They only remember the amazing time that they had. The kind of times that we keep in a startup is so significantly large. When you look back, you should not be thinking about your performance rating, your annual increments and stuff like that. You need to think back, you should have thought about the amazing time that you had while building that.
The process.
Right? And the most significant important of playing team sports or any sport in general, right? You lose something, you don't carry forward that. You win something, you don't get it into your head. Startup, you will have multiple wins, multiple losses, multiple highs, multiple lows and stuff like that. If people start losing their humility when they win and getting into a depression when they lose, right, it just doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Right? So somebody who has all this, it's very difficult to figure out these qualities in a normal interview and stuff like that. But these are some things that makes a startup a startup.
Yeah.
Right? Because as a founder, as a second-time founder and stuff like that, right? You are not building a company, you're building an organization. And for building an organization, you need these kind of people. Building a company is all about numbers.
Yeah.
Building an organization is all about people. You can build a company, but not an organization. If you build an organization, the company is just will happen.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful nuance because there is this very stark difference between a company and organization. Yeah.
Right? And we want to build an organization.
Absolutely. I know. I'm. Good luck to you. I mean, knowing you, I know you're onto something very special. This one is going to be a little tough, and I know we are cognizant of time, so I want to make it few things quick before we wrap up. Did you have more fit people in Taxiforsure, or do you have more fit guys in Zolve?
Tough question. I think the age profile in TFS was on the younger side. Right, the age profile on the Zolve side is on the higher side. I think in terms of general level of fitness, I think it will be similar. It would be similar, I think. It would be similar only. I don't really see much of
almost at the same.
But we are we got people more fitter in TFS by forcing them doing all that. Now we are also making for people force. So I mean the Kodasari trek I did last weekend was again with a bunch of Zolve folks.
Zolve guys.
Right. So and the APR runs that happened, a bunch of Zolve guys came and ran.
Okay.
Right. So this year Goa also will possibly be doing a bunch of relay teams from Goa.
Awesome.
Again.
Yeah.
So
Ironman Goa would have Zolve guys again showing up.
We were the largest team then. Probably will continue to hold the same maximum number of relay teams from Zolve. We'll do that.
What is the one thing you want to change about yourself, which you think would probably make you 10x more better in terms of efficient human?
That is a very loaded.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, like you said, it could be even getting 2 hours of extra sleep or whatever. So one thing you felt you wanted to really change or bring in a new thing, which could make
I have got good plans. I think I should probably execute on them. I don't do that that often. So there are plans which are probably long-term ones. There are day-to-day plans also, but I don't do enough justice to some of those. Maybe if I'm able to, because I know what needs to be done. It's not that I'm not aware of myself and things like that.
And this is both common between your sport and your work?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's there. And other thing is I take a lot of notes, but I don't revisit them as
Okay.
often as I would like to.
Okay.
Right. I know it's there. It's
Yeah.
there. It's just, I don't know why I don't really do that. If
Yeah.
I'm able to do that, I guess possibly I can probably get a lot better. Again, this is hypothetical.
Right.
But yeah, there is some substance to it.
Okay. So we'll wrap up quickly with two more questions. You advise people, more practical advice. That's what I've got. So all the entrepreneurs, young professionals who want to do something which is more simpler for them to get started on a fit journey to stay healthy, what is one thing you would want to tell them which they could actually consider and start doing it tomorrow?
No, I think they just have to wake up and start doing some normal cardio or a normal workout and stuff like that. Right? They just have to start doing it, and they're not able to do. If they're not morning person, probably doing a lunch break and stuff like that, they can probably just go out for a run and things like that, or hit a gym. Almost all office buildings these days have got gyms, or at least in the evening they just do that just to clear their mind. Right, so it's not just for physical body and stuff like that, but for the mind. They need to do that, and probably other thing is to get a bunch of people who are regulars.
Surround yourself.
Surround yourself with those people so that it just gets, because we've seen most of the people when they look at fitness, they look at folks with six packs or bulky bodies and so stuff like that, right? And that's an extreme. If you're visualizing yourself as be fit is to be have a six pack or an eight pack and stuff like that, that is not necessarily the fitness. You got to start small. You got to start, but starting is the most important game. I mean, any entrepreneur knows this. Starting is the most important game. When you put the first step, the subsequent steps happen. So you just have to wake up, right, wear your shoes, and step out of the door, and rest.
Will follow through. Yeah.
Easily.
Because you're a triathlete, tell me, if you had to do a relay, who would be the two other people from history you would want to do a relay with, and where would you do this event? Any part of the world you had in mind, and two people from the history who could be part of your relay team?
Very.
Never thought about it.
Because I always thought about doing something along with people.
Okay, so it could. Okay, let's make it easier. So if you had to do something, your ideal team, who would be the other two people?
Maybe Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Because some creativity by zero.
Right.
So that is something that I don't understand. Only. Maybe something to probably pick and
Okay. And one more?
learn from there. Right. Second one will be probably one of the army generals.
Okay.
The discipline is
Interesting.
something that I lack.
Interesting.
Right. To be so disciplined when whatever thing happens, also to stay disciplined and stuff like that.
Right.
So that is something that I would want to pick.
Right. And a location which you had in mind?
Location, that's Berlin.
Okay.
You know why.
Yeah, yeah. Right,
you know
cool.
why. Yeah, you know why.
Great, great. Yeah.
Berlin.
No, this is brilliant, Raghu. Had a lot of fun. I hope people listening, watching, got some cues to get started. Like I said in the beginning, the idea was to sit down and unpack your other side, which I often found very interesting and unique. And I'm still curious, and we have to probably come back and do another sitting to kind of extend this conversation. But thank you for spending this last hour with me, and I really hope people take some cues and go out. Before I leave, where do you think, if people want to reach out to you for training tips, for entrepreneurship, what's the best way people can reach out?
So LinkedIn is best.
Okay.
Right. Or Strava.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Raghu is pretty active on Strava. So if you want to find out which part of the world he is, I get to know all about Raghu from there, where he is. So
Probably disable this.
Yeah.
And start doing that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, but thank you, Raghu. Fun it was, and I hope to come back and catch up with you with your next Ironman and trade notes on your training.
Awesome, Dilip. Oh, this was a very good conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Okay, that was Raghu. I hope you enjoyed listening or watching. I had a great time sitting next to him and unpacking his other side. It would mean a lot to me if you can share your feedback. That will allow me to get better and also help me to get more such great guests to you. Please do not forget to subscribe and send me your feedback on YouTube, on anywhere else. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or email. Thank you. See you on the other side with a new guest.